MPs fight in Narar Ch amid low turnout in hotly contested by-election. Living in the woods, the agony of a self-confessed former ICC witness.
It has always been factored in the budget. What happened the last 1 year?
No business as usual. Teachers demand promotions before start of new term.
Jaribu mabasi mengi sana yamebukiwa mpaka tarehe 7, tarehe 6. Sasa na watoto wanarudi tarehe 7 skuli, ndio shida kwetu.
And thousands stranded as night travel ban hits travelers after festivities. Good evening to you and welcome to KTN Prime. This is most certainly the most comprehensive bulletin in the country. My name is Wilson Mburu. Now let's start off in Narar Ch, where the parliamentary by-election just concluded a few hours ago. And on the phone is our reporter Fred Omulo, who's going to give us an update of what has been happening the whole day in that constituency. Fred, good evening.
Good evening, Wilson.
Now, just give us an update of what has been happening in Narar Ch and what we know up to this point.
Up to this point, 108 polling stations out of 110 have already delivered their results. Ford People's Richard Tongi has 10,039 votes. Chris Bishage of ODM has 9,511 votes, while Robert Monda of TNA has 9,049 votes. The others are trailing with less than 1,000 votes. So those three are likely to produce the MP of Narar Ch. The results will be ready in the next 30 or so minutes. We'll know who is the winner. The interim results will be out.
What is the mood? What is the mood in the polling station where you are at right now? What has been the general mood in the constituency?
The general mood right now at the tallying center is one of relief, because there was a lot of tension during the day. ODM and TNA supporters were slugging it out during the day. ODM was accusing TNA of conducting voter bribery. In fact, they detained 6 people whom they took to the Central Police Station. Among them were 2 brothers of the TNA candidate, Robert Monda, and they say that these people were paying people outside polling stations to tilt the scales, to influence the votes and ensure that TNA wins. Well, right now, the ODM and TNA are trailing, and the person who filed the petition, the person who precipitated this by-election, Richard Tongi, is the one who is ahead. And there are only 2 polling stations left, but there's a slim margin of about 500 votes, so it's impossible to tell whether he will win or not. Sorry. Nevertheless, he is the one who is ahead right now.
Well, apart from the small issues that you have mentioned regarding the tension that was witnessed, has there been any more trouble in the constituency?
Yes, there were some ugly scenes within town today when the two sides, ODM and TNA, clashed. They had to be dispersed. Police lobbed tear gas canisters outside the police station to disperse them once the 6 suspects that ODM had detained were taken in. In fact, they were taken to court, but the chief magistrate, a man by the name of Kibet Zambu, he dismissed the case and said that there was insufficient evidence for him to even start looking at the file. So right now there's a mood of relief that the two people who are fighting, the 2 strong elephants that were fighting, are not in the lead, and people are just a little bit relaxed here. People were really scared. There was tension. People thought that violent scenes would actually erupt right here, but the mood is changing. In the last hour, a sense of relief has really settled in around here.
All right. Thank you very much, Fred. Of course, we're going to stay on with Fred, and we'll be back with more updates as the bulletin continues. Right now, Let's move on to other stories. And tonight, a man who says he was one of the ICC witnesses who withdrew his statement in the case against Deputy President William Ruto and Joshua Arap Sang is on the run. The man, who hails from Uasin Gishu County, says his fellow villagers are out to lynch him in what he believes is a witch hunt following his earlier intentions to testify in the Hague-based court. He now lives in the middle of a forest after escaping an attack in his home. Linda Ogutu has those details.
Jonah Bureti sits next to his bow and arrow in the middle of a forest, somewhere we will not disclose for his own safety. It has been where he and his son call home for the last couple of days after he ran away from his Beshabor village in Uasin Gishu County. That was after a group of people surrounded his home early Sunday morning. He was their main target.
Sasa wakazidi kupiga nduru zaidi. Kumbe sasa wanakusanya wanakijiji ili wawe karibu wanizingire ili waweze kunifanyia jambo ambalo labda walikuwa wamefikiria wenyewe. Sasa wakati nafikiri bado wanajipanga panga hivi ndio nikapata mwanya nikajua hapa kuendelea kuja kukucha mtu wa kuuawa ni mimi. Sasa nikaingia kwa njia nyingine ya chini hivi.
According to Jonah, his misfortune stems from the fact that he was one of the witnesses who withdrew their statements at the ICC in the case against Deputy President William Ruto and Joshua Arap Sang.
Hao ni binadamu sawa na mimi. Na niliona tu nijiondoe kabisa kwa hiyo kesi.
The fact that he was to testify against Ruto and Sang has infuriated area residents and local leaders.
Karibu miezi miwili nilisikia tetesi kwa marafiki kwamba bwana mnatafutwa mnakisiwa kwamba labda wewe ni mmoja wa wale labda waliondoka kwenda kwa mashahidi kula ICC. Nikaambia hapana. Wameniambia tu kwa lugha nzuri sana, alafu mzee uangalie sehemu ya kuishi, alafu uuze shamba.
The attack on Sunday left his home vandalized and his wife traumatized.
Wana mapanga, wana masilaha mbalimbali. Wengine wana mafuta, unagonga mlango anaenda kumwagia maviti. Haya makwesha na wanaweka mafuta wanawakisha nyumba.
Residents and the attackers, however, have a different version of why they attacked Jonah's home. They say he is practicing witchcraft and a series of misfortunes that have happened in the village all point to him.
Hii mtu si mzuri, ni mchawi. Inasemekana mzee akiangalia ng'ombe wengine ya maziwa baadaye uweze kamua tena.
They say someone who looked like Bureti was spotted fetching fresh soil from the graveside of a neighbor who was recently buried. According to them, he is behind a string of deaths witnessed in the village. His daughter, Emily Bureti, says her father and indeed her family is innocent.
Radi ilikuja ikapiga huyo msana mwenye mnaona kaburi lake hapa. Mama pia huyo mwenye mnamwona hapa alipigwa na radi. Dada yetu mdogo mwingine alipigwa na radi. Sasa tukianza kuingia mambo ya uchawi, nani sisi alituroga?
Jonah is not buying the witchcraft allegation and says it's either the Kenyan government or the ICC that may be able to save his life and free his family from the terror that is his village.
Kama serikali ya Kenya labda wanaona kwamba haiwezekani, ninamuomba Bensuda aje nichukue kabisa. Sio vizuri nikae hapa Kenya niuawe.
Attempts to get official statement from area leaders and administrators was futile. Linda Ogutu, KTN Prime.
To education matters now, and a dispute is looming in the education sector after the Kenya National Union of Teachers issued an ultimatum requiring the government to promote all deserving teachers before the new year rolls in. The union accuses the Teacher Service Commission of halting the promotion of over 50,000 teachers who have successfully undertaken various courses in the last 2 years.
While the country gears up for New Year celebrations, a storm is brewing among dissatisfied teachers. In the past, teachers who graduated after successfully undertaking certificate, diploma and degree courses were assured of promotions. However, in the last year or so, the promotions have been quietly halted without any formal communication from the Teacher Service Commission.
Teacher Service Commission is obligated to elevate them with effect from the dates of graduation in the various universities.
During this period, an estimated 53,000 teachers are reported to have undergone training courses or sat interviews for new positions, all in vain.
The question is, this benefit has been running over the years. it has always been factored in the budget. What happened the last 1 year? Who is this who decided that it must be withdrawn?
While it is reported that the Teacher Service Commission is revising promotion guidelines, TSC Secretary Gabriel Lengoi Boni could not be reached for confirmation. The Kenya National Union of Teachers now wants all teachers deserving of promotions to be promoted by midnight on 31st December, failure to which it shall turn the matter over to the National Executive Council and their Advisory Council. The last 2 years have seen learning in public schools disrupted by teacher strikes, and with this dispute, another strike looms.
We cannot cheat Kenyans that we are walking into classrooms when we are heavily demotivated, and that will be a disaster in the waiting in the education sector.
As the country prepares to feed students who perform well in the Kenya Certificate of Primary Education examination, teachers warn that come January there will be little to celebrate unless deserving teachers receive their promotions. Wilkison Nyabwa, KTN in Nairobi.
The Big Q in association with Kenya Power.
Another story forms the basis of our Big Q tonight when you're asking, do you think it is possible for the Teacher Service Commission to promote 53,000 teachers before midnight tomorrow? Do you think it is possible for the Teacher Service Commission to promote 53,000 teachers before midnight tomorrow? Send in your yes or no response together with a short comment to the number 22155, or you can tweet me at Wilson_Mburu and we'll sample your views during this live newscast.
Tips. Dial *551# Kenya Power.
Now, still on education matters, tomorrow the results of this year's KCPE the KCPE exams will be released officially by the Education Cabinet Secretary Jacob Kaimenyi. Normally, candidates and schools that come tops are greeted with pomp and color that characterizes the celebrations of good performance. But ever wonder what happens to the candidates after the celebrations? Well, KTN's Catherine Namwando caught up with Adede Hawi, who in 2009 had her name read out as one of the top 10 candidates after she scored 432 marks out of a possible 500 marks. As you are about to find out, the 17-year-old is perhaps the best example of a student of the Kenyan education system.
A figure of a new beginning. After sitting for her Kenya Certificate for Secondary Education examination, Adede Hawi will now embark on a new journey under the watchful eye of her parents, especially her mother Nancy. Exactly 4 years ago, Adede was the delightful 13-year-old, eager to sit for her Kenya Certificate of Primary Education examination at New Light Academy in Komarok.
There was improved performance.
2 months later, while candidates of 2009 KCPE waited with bated breath for their results, she had the pleasure of having her name read out by the then Minister for Education, Professor Sam Ongeri. She scored 432 out of a possible 500 marks.
I could not even take tea. I was feeling so afraid.
Adede's parents were willing to invest their time and money not only towards her academic future, but her passions as well, which range from drawing to filmmaking.
We should actually just let them be what they want to be. Let them just do what they want to do.
So for me, I will take biomedical engineering, and I would like to make 3D animation. That would be just wonderful for me.
The arts have for a long time been seen as a fallback plan for candidates who do not do well enough in their examinations to be doctors, lawyers or engineers.
Fine. There was a lot of emphasis on I got good results, I want to go to a good school. That is fine. But I sincerely hope that parents out there will not... We have cases of children committing suicide because they got maybe a result they didn't like. I think sometimes the parents contribute to that because the child sees like it's just books and I've not made it, so let me get rid of myself. I think parents should encourage children from the time they are young so that they just be themselves.
She's scored a B+ in this year's mock examinations and now waits for her KCSE results. Come what may, she says, she has learned that even with the results, a candidate's success is dependent on their will to succeed and not the grade on their result slip.
Deep inside you, there is a great person, and that great person must be brought out. Whether you do very well, whether you do averagely well, or whether you don't do as you expected, there is a great person inside you. Follow that person. Don't let that person die, because you will be held accountable sometime.
There has been a long-standing debate as to whether the Kenya Certificate of Primary Education examination should be scrapped or kept. The proponents of KCPE examinations say that it provides the necessary checks and balances within basic education, while those against it feel that it leaves out those who are not necessarily book smart but are talented. Either way, as pupils wait for their results tomorrow, Adeda is proof that there is life after KCPE results. Catherine Omwando, KTN in Nairobi.
Now to that very controversial issue of the presidential appointments, and the Mburu Council of Elders, popularly known as the Narar Ch, have thrown their weight behind the appointment, specifically that of Ambassador Francis Muthaura. Together with the Meru Leaders Forum, the elders say that Muthaura is qualified for the job. Also supporting the appointment is Pokot Senator John Lonyangapuo. However, the National Youth Council is demanding that the president withdraws the 26 appointments as they do not meet the constitutional thresholds of a balance between the youth, gender and persons with disability. Similar sentiments have also been expressed by the National Gender and Equality Commission, noting that the appointments go against gender and inclusion principles envisaged in the Constitution.
He is a person who, among others, initiated the Vision 2030, and it is absolutely in order to put him there to oversee the implementation of some of the projects.
Men don't have any issue so seriously to do with what takes place there, but they can direct, they can advise. But the fellow who must be pinned is the CEO and the management. So local politics should normally be contained there. Don't upgrade local politics to the national level until it crowds the direction what is normally required.
We implore, or we call upon the president and his deputy to revoke the appointments and consult widely. And a fresh list should be constituted, giving a third of those appointments to the youths of this country, the other third to the women, and 5% of the appointment should go to the people living with disability.
Now, the gazettement of 26 names of individuals appointed to head selected state corporations, with many election losers and some retired civil servants picked to chair public institutions, has been criticized as an attempt to kill the Jubilee initiative to reform parastatals, with most appointments taking effect from January 10th before Parliament reconvenes. It may be correct to suggest that it is a done deal, but it is Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto exercising power of defiance by making appointments that rewards their political cronies. Mashirima Kapombe has the details.
With just 2 months shy of hitting the one-year mark in government, President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto's leadership has come under sharp criticism, both from the ruling coalition and the opposition. The dismissive manner in which the top leadership has brushed aside calls for explanation on controversial decisions made is worrying.
Pilipili usioila wewe ya kuwashiani.
Wagojee miaka 10, Uhuru amalize kazi yake. Alafu wagojee miaka ingine 10, Ruto amalize kazi yake. Alafu sasa wakitaka watakuja sasa waunde yao, ambayo watakuja kusema ni nani atakuwa ndani, nani atakuwa nje.
This is now slowly planting doubt in the hearts of a section of Kenyans over Jubilee Coalition's promises of a government that listens to its people.
Sometimes the government accepts criticism, sometimes the things is going on its own way.
They are still lack a lot of experience in the realm of politics.
The defiance by the president and his deputy began months back in Ruto's backyard, and just yesterday, coastal leaders criticized Ambassador Muthaura's appointment to head the LAPSSET project.
Serikali aina gani hii ambao wanasema ni ya vijana na saa hii wanaleta wazee ambao hata wakiingia ofisi analala?
Walisema kwamba at 65 Raila tayari ni mkongwe, na unaona kwamba Muthaura anaenda almost 90 na wanamweka kwa afisi.
Tusipatie wazee ambao wameshinda na wakati. Kama ni digital ni digital, tusichangane nyama bwana.
70% ya viti vya uchairman tumewapatia vijana. Sasa tukiwapatia wazee 2-3 kelele ni ya nini?
Ruto did not mince his words over the leader's remarks, and Kenyans too are not holding back their tongues.
When they were being elected, there are people they promised things. They have to settle that debt.
Serikali kuwa mzuri, opposition wanasema ni baya.
And as questions are raised over the government's non-acceptance of criticism,
kazi yake ni kutoa maneno ati ndio andikwe kwa gazeti. Mimi niliwaambia gazeti ni ya kufunga nyama.
Perhaps they are deaf to the opinions of those who handed them power, or the open door policy that had been promised has been shown the door. Mashirima Kapombe, KTN Prime.
Let's move on to transport matters now, and hundreds of families were left stranded for hours at bus stations countrywide, with some left with no option but to spend the night inside the buses at stopovers. Those hoping to travel to major towns in anticipation of getting back to work this week were surprised to find most public service buses fully booked with no tickets available before the 8th of January next year. Ian Wafula reports.
A major transport hitch has hit the country following the ban on night travel for long-distance passenger service vehicles as a measure to curb road carnage. Passengers who are now seeking transportation back to the city after the Christmas holidays were stranded in most parts of the country as bus operators were overwhelmed by the number of passengers. In Kisumu, hundreds of passengers spent a good part of the day outside bus offices after they were informed that all buses were fully booked until the 8th of January next year. Most of them with children, some too tired as their luggage turned to be the only thing they could lean on under the scorching sun. Bus companies in the areas were forced to increase their fleets to meet the demand. And in Mombasa, the situation was the same, with major concerns on how children will travel back to school when schools reopen next week.
Nimejaribu mabasi mengi sana, yamebukiwa mpaka tarehe 7, tarehe 6. Sasa na watoto wanarudi tarehe 7 skuli, ndio shida kweli.
Others were forced to seek alternative means of reaching their destinations on time. Although the train service is only scheduled thrice a week between Mombasa and Nairobi, the travelers say it is much cheaper. With 350 shillings, one would be ferried to Nairobi compared to bus fare of 1,500 and above. However, they were disappointed by the poor maintenance of the trains. At the Machakos bus terminus in Nairobi, the most affected by the transport hitch were business operators.
Nisafiri asubuhi saa 12 kufika hapa, nikafika saa 4 hivi. Kutembea kutafuta mzigo, nimekuja saa hii nimepata gari, nilikuwa nataka kupanda Nyamira nikapata imeenda. Sasa ninasumbuka mzigo wangu huko na mimi niko hapa hata sijui nitalala wapi, sababu chalala Nairobi.
Wenye wameandika waandike madereva wawili. Ndio sababu dereva moja akitoa gari hapa kipeleka Kakamega ama Busia ama Mombasa, ule mwingine naye anarudisha gari pande ya pahali imetoka, kuliko dereva moja anaenda gari mwezi mzima, mwezi 2. Hapo ninatuma mambo ya accident inatokea.
Watu walilala hapa kwa stage wakiwa na watoto. Gari imekatigwa imejaa. Hiyo kiti amekaa na watoto, hakuna kusonga, hakuna kulala, mtu anakaa mpaka asubuhi. Mwenye alitia hiyo sheria ama mwenye aliweka hiyo sheria kwake analala saa hiyo.
Under the new regulation, public service vehicles are not allowed to operate past 6 p.m. except unless with a special permit. The ban on night travel should have been issued weeks or even months before the festive season to avoid inconveniences. Members of the public are urging the government to listen to their concerns to save them from the ongoing agony. Ian Wafula, KTN.
The Big Q in association with Kenya Power.
Now let's revisit our tops our big Q tonight, and we are asking, do you think it's possible for the TSC, or rather the Teacher Service Commission, to promote all the 53,000 teachers before midnight tomorrow? Do you think it is possible for the Teacher Service Commission to promote 53,000 teachers before midnight tomorrow? Now, from our Twitter handle at Mburu, at Wilson_Mburu, and at KTN Kenya, we'll get just 2 responses. Brad Hawk says it's possible if they are committed to doing it. That's Brad Hawk. And Daniel Zwabuge also says yes, if they fire the over 100,000 public servants as promised by the Deputy President. Now we'll continue sampling some of your views as the newscast continues.
Power information right at your fingertips. Dial *551# Kenya Power.
It's time for us to take a short break now, but don't you go away, because we'll have much more at the end of that break.
Insecurity in Eastleigh.
Hakika hii serikali imepoteza mwelekeo, kwa sababu walisema kwamba at 65 Raila tayari ni mkongwe, na unaona kwamba Mdaura anaenda almost 90 na wanamweka kwa afisi. Kwa hivyo unaona kwamba hakuna criteria ambaye kwa hakika wanafuata. Watuambie ni mfumo gani wanaofuata katika kuteua viongozi, kwa sababu walisema ni digital.
You're watching KTN Prime.
The military will be involved in dealing with the rising cases of insecurity in the country. This is according to Deputy President William Ruto, who says it will be crucial in boosting the efforts of the Kenya Police Service. Speaking in Mombasa County, where he unveiled 21 police vehicles to help in fighting crime, the Deputy President said it was the responsibility of the national government to ensure that Kenyans are safe and can engage in economic activities freely. On the increasing threats of radicalization of Muslim youth in the coastal region, the Deputy President warned of drastic state action.
Very good.
Ili tuwe na maeneo ambayo watu wanaweza kufanya biashara huru. Mheshimiwa Rais, nataka nikuhakikishie kama serikali ya kaunti ya Mombasa, tutawaunga mkono, tutaungana nanyi ili kuboresha maisha, to better the lives of our people. Na hiyo ndio maana tumepigiwa kura. And we are clear that we will mobilize all the resources that we have to make sure that the lives and property of every citizen is secure. We will mobilize every resource. We will use the police. Where necessary, we will use the military. We will mobilize national, county resources, private resources to ensure that there is security for our citizens, for our visitors, for investors, so that we can have an environment that we can truly contribute in transforming our economy.
Now, as Kenyans prepare to usher in the new year, the business community in Nairobi's Eastleigh area is expressing concern over the rising cases of insecurity involving thuggery and use of small arms. A section of Eastleigh residents are also accusing the police of harassing and allegedly extorting money from them instead of pursuing and arresting criminal elements. Patrick Omimo reports.
Eastleigh and the neighboring Juja and Pangani estates have witnessed cases of grenade attacks and other improvised explosive devices, as happened recently when a bomb exploded in an Eastleigh-bound matatu near Pangani Girls Secondary School. Last year in the month of September, grenades were hurled at St. Polycarp Anglican Church that is inside Pangani estate and killed a child. Police have been patrolling Eastleigh estate to arrest suspected architects and sympathizers of terror attacks and other criminal elements. However, a majority of residents we spoke to claim some security officers have resorted to harassing and extorting money from the innocent.
Sisi usiku jioni ikifika wanasimama kwa tatu kwa kila street, kutoka 12 Street mpaka 4 Street mpaka 3rd Street. Wanasimama 5 4 wakishika wa vijana na wamama wa Somali. na kama uko na ID na kama hauna ID ile kitu wanahitaji ni pesa. Ukiwapatia shilingi 500 unaachiliwa.
Kama iko vitambulisho ya Kenya wanakuambia weka kando, leta kitu kidogo. Sisi tunataka wafate wahalifu, lakini sisi hatutaki wanyanyase wale hawana hatia.
The rising cases of insecurity is also a concern for the business community in Eastleigh, who are forced to close business before dusk, and they blame the police of misplaced agenda while on the crime beat.
Sasa uwizi pia utendeka usiku tukifunga kazi. Kila siku tunaibiwa masimu. Kama polisi hawa hapana. Ni biashara wako, hakuna kitu wanafanya.
Security iko mbaya sana. Mizi wale ambao wanaitwa nachukua simu, pesa yoyote, hata nafsi yako iko shida.
These road construction works in Eastleigh have been ongoing for more than 2 years now without signs of when the roads will be complete. The construction works have affected Eastleigh's 1st and 2nd avenues, which are the estate's main road arteries. Businesses used to thrive here, ranging from small stalls to shopping malls. Due to the ongoing road constructions, customers who want to purchase goods in Eastleigh are dropped either along Juja Road or General Waringe Street. The business community has complained about the slow pace of road construction.
Kawaida vile tunauza tumepoteza karibu 80% taslimu, yani hatuingizi pesa kabisa. Mpaka hata rent ni ngumu kulipa.
Barabara iko chini na hakuna mtu anatengeneza. Sasa hiyo wanasema namaliza mwezi wa 6, lakini sioni kama wanaweza maliza.
Hawkers have converted the paved and unfinished sections of the road into open air stalls and have spread their wares in all open spaces and alleys.
Barabara wanachimbia mpaka mahali ya kupanda juu. Na nafasi kubwa, mama hawezi panda ama msichana mdogo hawezi panda, atateleza anguke. Kwa hiyo sasa Mahoko wanafaidika zaidi kutuliko sisi, na sisi tulipo ushuru.
Even as the business community in Eastleigh await completion of roadworks to boost their business, the Inspector General of Police should investigate cases where some of his officers have been accused of using insecurity to extort money from residents. Patrick Amimo, KTN, Eastleigh.
Let's go to the story that has just checked in, and they are the final results of the Narar Ch by-election, parliamentary by-election, and it has emerged that Richard Nyagaka of the Ford People Party has emerged the winner in that by-election. Richard Nyagaka is now the MP-elect for Narar Ch. Will, of course, continue to give you details as the results continue streaming in, rather as we get the final results as we get them. But for now, let's move on to another story. More than 1,500 people in Lokamarinyang village in Turkana County are still homeless after a wildfire razed down a village on Christmas Day. The village in Turkana County near the Kenya-Ethiopia-Sudan border burnt down, leaving more than 400 homes in ashes and an estimated 2,000 families displaced. A woman in Amanyata, where the fire is suspected to have begun, was injured and is recuperating at the Kaikor dispensary about 200 kilometers from the scene. The fire spread quickly through 250 houses, burning them in less than an hour. And as a result of the strong winds being witnessed in the area, victims lost cash, food, identification cards, household goods, goats, poultry and school materials for their children. The Turkana County Deputy Governor Peter Lokoel has urged donors to come to the aid of the Lokamarinyang residents. Now let's give you a small update of that Narar Ch parliamentary by-election, and Ford People's Richard Nyagaka has won that race with 10,100 votes, and we'll continue giving you the rest of those results as the bulletin continues. Across borders, the Democratic Republic of Congo's army today repulsed several attacks in the capital Kinshasa, targeted at the state TV headquarters, the international airport and a military base. The attacks occurred when President Joseph Kabila was on a state visit to the mineral-rich Katanga region, south of Kinshasa.
According to the country's information minister Lambert Mende, 46 of the 100 attackers who invaded the state TV and radio headquarters were killed, while 10 were captured by government forces. An army colonel was killed when the attackers struck the military base, with Congolese authorities claiming followers of religious leader Paul Joseph Mukungubila might have been responsible for the assault aimed at seizing power in a city of 9 million people. Gunmen had briefly seized the headquarters of State Radio and Television in Kinshasa, taking several journalists hostage. Shortly after the clashes in Kinshasa, Congo's army exchanged heavy fire with Mukungubila's followers in the mining province of Katanga. Witnesses also reported shooting at the Shashi military camp close to the Defense Ministry and other international airport on the city's outskirts. Many now view the attack as a political message against President Joseph Kabila, who took office in 2001 after the assassination of his father Laurent Kabila. The Democratic Republic of Congo is struggling to emerge from decades of violence and instability, particularly in its mineral-rich east.
The Ford People candidate Richard Nyagaka has now been declared the winner of the Narar Ch by-election. And with us on the line again is Fred Omulo, who is on the ground. A very good evening, Fred, to you again. Can you please give us an update of the final tally of the results?
Well, the interim results are out, and Richard Tongi is the new MP for Narar Ch constituency. He has won with 10,100 votes, closely followed by Chris Bishage of ODM with 9,712 votes. At third place is Robert Monda of TNA, who has 9,286 votes, more than he got in the March 4th general election.
What is the atmosphere at this moment at the polling stations where you're at?
The mood is electric. The mood is electric. People are singing and dancing here, pushing their cars. There's a big traffic signal up here as some cars are delivering the ballot boxes that have all the papers in which voters voted throughout the day. I mean, it's completely electric right here. But the tension that was there earlier in the day has completely subsided. The security officers who are standing around me right now, they are all very relaxed. They had been tense. They thought that there could be a face-off between the supporters of ODM and TNA, who had a strong confrontation earlier in the day. Richard Tongi is in here. He's waiting for the completion of the counting of the manual, the papers in the ballot boxes. And after that, he will be given the certificate. So no certificate as of now, but we can say that he is the new MP.
All right, thank you very much, Fred Omulo. He is in Narar Ch, and as he said, the manual process still has to go on because these are interim results, and before the MP-elect is given the certificate, the manual results have to be given out, or rather announced before the certificate can be issued. Double world champion Mo Farah in 2012 visited Kenya and camped in Iten together with fellow British athletes, among them Paula Radcliffe, who is the world women's marathon record holder. Well, in Iten, the duo frequented in an eating joint in Iten for lunch. Despite his presence at the eatery, most locals did not notice whom he was, except one Boniface Biwot, who happened to be there. Victor Ogale with the rest of that story from Iten.
On a random day, one can never miss the presence of athletes in Iten, both local and international. To the locals, this has continued to be part of their daily routine that even when star athletes from foreign countries camp in the home of champions, they go unnoticed. Somali-born British international track and field athlete Mohammed Farah is a living example of such treatment. In 2012, British athletes camped at the Lona Kiplagat Altitude Training Center. Their presence in Iten will forever remain in the memories of one Boniface Biwot as he served Mo Farah and Paula Radcliffe with beef and ugali.
Unajua tuna supply meat kwa high altitude training center kambi ya Lona. Sasa kuna siku moja Mo Farah alitembea na mama mwingine. Yani msungu mwingine. You see? Akakuja wakaingia hapo alafu wakaangalia chakula, and then one of them akakula. You see? Akakula alafu baadaye akaangalia picha yake kwa ukuta akafurahi.
Being a family business, Biwot is also an athlete. Aids his father in running the business whenever he's not training. According to the towering athlete, Super Butchery has over the years continued to feed champions. Its walls are a clear indication of a business venture that appreciates and values its customers.
Hiyo kitu ni I feel very proud kabisa. Yani najisikia kabisa juu kama champion amekuja kula kwa butcher, maybe akina Mofara akitembelea hapo, you see. Yes, na feel proud kabisa. Yani naona kweli ni mzuri sana. Nacheki hivi ukiwa kwa biashara, for example, ukimsaidia baba yako na unafanya mazoezi, alafu champions wakuje wakula hapo, wanachua kweli hapa ni pale penye pasuri chakula, pia ni nini, yani twende tukule penye mwenzangu, yani tuna train pamoja.
Boniface Biwott began running in 2008 after clearing his secondary education and has taken part in races in Europe and Asia. Victor Ogale, KTN Sports.
Now, Michael Schumacher, the 7-time Formula One champion, is in critical condition after a skiing accident. The 44-year-old German suffered serious brain trauma, was in a coma on arrival, and underwent a brain operation. He was skiing off-site with his son in the French Alps on Sunday when the accident occurred. Experts say it is likely that his brain began to swell and the urgent surgery was required to relieve the pressure. Residents of Nakuru town now fear that donkey meat may be circulating in butcheries after they discovered the carcasses of 6 donkeys dumped in a ditch in the outskirts of the town. The 6 donkeys had been deboned and their heads and legs dumped in the ditch. A section of the donkeys were reported missing before their carcasses were discovered. Area residents say this is the first incident reported in the area, despite allegations of donkey meat circulating in the butcheries and hotels in Naivasha. The incident has caused fear among residents of Nakuru and its environs. The suspects who slaughtered the donkeys escaped shortly after the residents raised the alarm. The Nakuru District Veterinary Officer Githui Kaba has urged the public to avoid uninspected meat as it is likely to be hazardous to the health of the general public.
Watu wasikule nyama za ng'ombe.
I only have one to eat.
Heri wachinje kani kakuku hivi.
Unajua labda wanaenda kutengeneza kitu kama samosa ama kitu kama hiyo, ile inahitaji minced meat.
Donkey meat is gazetted as food animal. And what you're supposed to do is that you take the donkey to a slaughterhouse. It is inspected by the inspecting authority and it is passed for as fit for human consumption. The only other thing is that if you have to take it to a butchery, you have to tell people that you are selling to them donkey meat.
The Big Q in association with Kenya Power.
Now, if you notice that the health officer said, emphasized rather, that it is important to eat inspected meat. That's all I have to say. Let's continue with our Big Q tonight. And we asked, do you think it is possible for the Teacher Service Commission to promote 53,000 teachers before midnight tomorrow? Do you think it is possible for the Teacher Service Commission to promote 53,000 teachers before midnight tomorrow? And now, I can't quite get the results. I think we have a technical issue, but let's take one tweet here. And Sami Penda says it's practically impossible to promote the 50,000 plus teachers, but the government can express its willingness to do the same.